So now we are on chapter 70 in the book of Enoch. We finished the third parable. So here we go. And it came to pass after this that his name, during his lifetime, was raised aloft to that Son of Man, and to the Lord of spirits from amongst those who dwell on the earth. And he raised aloft on the chariots of the Spirit, and his name vanished among them. And from that day I was no longer numbered amongst them, and he set me between the two winds, between the north and the west, where the angels took the cords to measure for me the place for the elect and righteous. And there I saw the first fathers and the righteous who from the beginning dwell in that place. Chapter 71. And it came to pass after this that my spirit was translated, and it ascended into the heavens, and I saw the holy sons of God. They were stepping on flames of fire. Their garments were white, and their raiment, and their faces shone like snow. And I saw two streams of fire, and the light of that fire shone like hyacinth. And I fell on my face before the Lord of spirits, and the angel Michael, one of the archangels, seized me by my right hand, and lifted me up and led me forth into all the secrets. And he showed me all the secrets of righteousness. And he showed me all the secrets of the ends of the heaven, and all the chambers of all the stars, and all the luminaries, whence they proceed before the face of the holy ones. And he translated my spirit into the heaven of heavens, and I saw there, as it were, a structure built of crystals. Here we go back to the crystals. And between those crystals, tongues of living fire. And my spirit saw the girdle, which girt that house of fire, and on its four sides were streams full of living fire. And they girt that house, and round about were seraphim, cherubic, and ophanim. And these are they who sleep not, and guard the throne of his glory. And I saw angels who could not be counted, 1,000 thousands, and 10,000 times 10,000, encircling that house. And Michael and Raphael and Gabriel and Phanuel and the holy angels who are above the heavens go in and out of that house. And they came forth from that house. And Michael and Gabriel, Raphael and Phanuel, and many holy angels without number. And with them the head of days, his head white and pure as wool, and his raiment indescribable. And I fell on my face, and my whole body became relaxed, and my spirit was transfigured. And I cried with a loud voice, with the spirit of power, and blessed and glorified and extolled. And these blessings which went forth out of my mouth were well-pleasing before that head of days. And that head of days came with Michael and Gabriel, Raphael and Phanuel, thousands and 10,000s of angels without number. And then it says here, lost passage wherein the Son of Man was described as accompanying the head of days. And Enoch asked one of the angels, as in chapter 46, I'm assuming, concerning the Son of Man, as to who he was. And he, the angel, came to me and greeted me with his voice and said unto me, this is the Son of Man who is born unto righteousness, and righteousness abides over him, and the righteousness of the head of days forsakes him not. And he said unto me, he proclaims unto thee peace in the name of the world to come. For from hence has proceeded peace since the creation of the world. And so shall it be unto thee forever and forever and ever. And all shall walk in his ways, since righteousness never forsaketh him. With him will be their dwelling places, and with him their heritage, and they shall not be separated from him forever and ever and ever. And so there shall be length of days with that Son of Man, and the righteous shall have peace and an upright way, in the name of the Lord of spirits forever and ever. And now we move to the book of the courses of the heavenly luminaries. Chapter 72. The book of the courses of the luminaries of the heaven, the relations of each according to their classes, their dominion, and their seasons, according to their names and places of origin, and according to their months, which Uriel, the holy angel who was with me, who is their guide, showed me. And he showed me all their laws exactly as they are, and how it is with regard to all the years of the world and unto eternity, till the new creation is accomplished, which dureth till eternity. And this is the first law of the luminaries. The luminary, the sun, has its rising in the eastern portals of the heaven, and its setting in the western portals of the heaven. And I saw 6 portals in which the sun rises, and 6 portals in which the sun sets, and the moon rises and sets in these portals. And the leaders of the stars, and those whom they lead, 6 in the east, and 6 in the west, and all following each other in accurately corresponding order. Also, many windows to the right and left of these portals. And first there goes forth the great luminary named the sun. And his circumference is like the circumference of the heaven, and he is quite filled with illuminating and heating fire. The chariot on which he ascends, the wind drives, and the sun goes down from the heaven and returns through the north in order to reach the east, and is so guided that he comes to the appropriate portal and shines in the face of the heaven. In this way he rises in the first month in the great portal, which is the fourth, those 6 portals in the cast. And in that fourth portal from which the sun rises in the first month are 12 window openings, from which proceed a flame when they are opened in their season. I'm already imagining something. Right away, something comes to my mind as I read this. When the sun rises in the heaven, he comes forth through that fourth portal 30 mornings in succession, and sets accurately in the fourth portal in the west of the heaven. And during this period, the day becomes daily longer, and the night nightly shorter, to the 30th morning. On that day, the day is longer than the night by a 9th part, and the day amounts exactly to 10 parts, and the night to 8 parts. And the sun rises from that fourth portal, and sets in the fourth, and returns to the 5th portal of the east 30 mornings, and rises from it and sets in the 5th portal. And then the day becomes longer by 2 parts, and amounts to 11 parts. And the night becomes shorter, and amounts to 7 parts. And it returns to the east, and enters into the 6th portal, and rises and sets in the 6th portal 1 and 30 mornings on account of its sign. On that day, the day becomes longer than the night, and the day becomes double the night, and the day becomes 12 parts, and the night is shortened and becomes 6 parts. And the sun mounts up to make the day shorter and the night longer, and the sun returns to the east and enters into the 6th portal, and rises from it and sets 30 mornings. And when 30 mornings are accomplished, the day decreases by exactly 1 part, and becomes 11 parts, and the night 7. And the sun goes forth from that sixth portal in the west, and goes to the east, and rises in the fifth portal for 30 mornings, and sets in the west again in the fifth western portal. On that day, the day decreases by 2 parts, and amounts to 10 parts, and the night to 8 parts. And the sun goes forth from that fifth portal, and sets in the fifth portal of the west, and rises in the fourth portal for 130 mornings. On account of its sign, it sets in the west. On that day, the day is equalized with the night, and becomes of equal length. And the night amounts to 9 parts, and the day to 9 parts. And the sun rises from that portal, and sets in the west, and returns to the east, and rises 30 mornings in the third portal, and sets in the west in the third portal. And on that day, the night becomes longer than the day, and night becomes longer than night, and day shorter than day, till the 30th morning, and the night amounts exactly to 10 parts, and the day to 8 parts. And the sun rises from that third portal, and sets in the third portal in the west, and returns to the east, and for 30 mornings rises in the second portal in the east, and in like manner sets in the second portal in the west of the heaven. And on that day, the night amounts to 11 parts, and the day to 7 parts. And the sun rises on that day from that second portal, and sets in the west in the second portal, and returns to the east in the first portal, and for 130 mornings, and sets in the first portal in the west of heaven. And this is basically talking about the seasons and each month. And the seasons change, right? So let me just find where it stops explaining it. But literally from the very beginning of that, 6 and 6, obviously, 12 months. But we could also look at just 12 in general. It's the 12 zodiac signs. They do say that there's a possibility of a 13th. Ophiuchus, I think that's his name. The serpent bearer. But yeah, I think I made a video about it once. But yeah, there's a lot of symbolism there. Those are the first things that came to my mind. However, there's so much more than just the zodiac signs. The constellations, Babylonian, ancient Babylonian astrology. That's a very complex one that I would like to also get into one of these days, which is supposedly something that was taught by one of the fallen angels as well, according to the book of Enoch. So let me find. So it comes to that. Its course becomes daily longer, and its course nightly shorter. And this is the law and the course of the sun, and his return, as often as he returns 60 times and rises, the great luminary which is named the sun, forever and ever. And that which thus rises is the great luminary, and is so named according to its appearance, according as the Lord commanded. As he rises, so he sets, and decreases not, and rests not, but runs day and night. And his light is 7-fold brighter than that of the moon. But as regards size, they are both equal. Chapter 73. And after this law, I saw another law dealing with the smaller luminary, which is named the moon. And her circumference is like the circumference of the heaven. And her chariot in which she rides is driven by the wind. And light is given to her in definite measure. And her rising and setting change every month. And her days are like the days of the sun. And when her light is uniform or full moon, it amounts to the 7th part of the light of the sun. And thus she rises. And her first phase in the east comes forth on the 30th morning. And on that day she becomes visible and constitutes for you the first phase of the moon on the 30th day together with the sun in the portal where the sun rises. And the one half of her goes forth by a seventh part, and her whole circumference is empty, without light, with the exception of 1/7 part of it, and the 14th part of her light. And when she receives 1/7 part of the half of her light amounts to 1/7 part and the half thereof. And she sets with the sun. And when the sun rises, the moon rises with and receives the half of one part of light. And in that night, in the beginning of her morning, in the commencement of the lunar day, the moon sets with the sun and is invisible that night with the 14 parts and the half of one of them. It's like a love story, you know? I just picture that. The sun and the moon, they work together. And she rises on that day with exactly a seventh part and comes forth and recedes from the rising of the sun. In her remaining days, she becomes bright in the remaining 13 parts. Chapter 74. And I saw another course, a law for her, and how according to that law she performs her monthly revolution. And all these Uriel, the holy angel who is the leader of them all, showed to me, and their positions, and I wrote down their positions as he showed them to me, and I wrote down their months as they were, and the appearance of their lights till 15 days were accomplished. Kind of rubbed off on the corner here. Seventh part she accomplishes all her light in the east, and in single seventh parts accomplishes all her darkness in the west. And in certain months she alters her settings, and in certain months she pursues her own peculiar course. In 2 months the moon sets with the sun. In those 2 middle portals, the third and the fourth, she goes forth for 7 days, and turns about and returns again through the portal where the sun rises, and accomplishes all her light. And she recedes from the sun, and in 8 days enters the 6th portal, from which the sun goes forth. And when the sun goes forth from the 4th portal, she goes forth 7 days, until she goes forth from the 5th and turns back again in 7 days into the 4th portal and accomplishes all her light. So this is just going to go about the phases of the moon. So let me just skip a bit. Hold on. Thus I saw their position, how the moons rose and the sun set in those days. And if 5 years are added together, the sun has an overplus of 30 days, and all the days which accrue to it for one of those 5 years, when they are full, amount to 364 days. And the overplus of the sun and of the stars amounts to 6 days. In 5 years, 6 days every year come to 30 days, and the moon falls behind the sun and stars to the number of 30 days. And the sun and the stars bring in all the years exactly, so that they do not advance or delay their position by a single day unto eternity, but complete the years with perfect justice in 364 days. In 3 years, there are 1,092 days. And in 5 years, 1,820 days. So that in 8 years, there are 2,912 days. For the moon alone, the days amount in 3 years to 1,062 days. And in 5 years, she falls 50 days behind. Example, to the sum of 1,770, there is to be added 1,062 days. And in 5 years, there are 1,770 days. so that for the moon the days in 8 years amount to 2,832 days. For in 8 years she falls behind the amount of 80 days. All the days she falls behind in 8 years are 80. And the year is accurately completed in conformity with their world stations and the stations of the sun, which rise from the portals through which the sun, rises and sets 30 days. So now we're on chapter 75. And the leaders of the heads of the thousands who are placed over the whole creation and over all the stars have also to do with the 4 intercalary days, being inseparable from their office, according to the reckoning of the year. And these render service on the 4 days which are not reckoned in the reckoning of the year. And owing to them, men go wrong therein. For those luminaries truly render service on the world stations, one in the first portal, one in the third of heaven, one in the fourth portal, one in the sixth, and the exactness of the year is accomplished through its separate 364 stations. For the signs and the times and the years and the days the angel Uriel showed to me, whom the Lord of glory hath set forever over all the luminaries of the heaven, in the heaven and in the world, that they should rule on the face of the heaven and be seen on the earth, and be leaders for the day and for the night, the sun, moon, and stars, and all the ministering creatures which make their revolution in all the chariots of heaven. Yeah, and then the image that comes to my mind is the tarot card. One of the tarot cards, which is the major arcana, the chariot card, for some reason. And in like manner, 12 doors, Uriel showed me, open in the circumference of the sun's chariot in the heaven, through which the rays of the sun break forth. And from them is warmth diffused over the earth, when they are opened at their appointed seasons. And for the winds and the spirit of the dew, when they are opened, standing open in the heavens at the ends. As for the 12 portals in the heaven at the ends of the earth, out of which go forth the sun, moon, and stars, and all the works of heaven in the east and in the west. There are many windows open to the left and right of them, and one window at its appointed season produces warmth, corresponding as these do to those doors from which the stars come forth according as he has commanded them, and wherein they set corresponding to their number. And I saw chariots in the heaven running in the world above those portals in which revolve the stars that never set. And one is larger than all the rest, and it is that makes its course through the entire world. Chapter 76. And at the ends of the earth I saw 12 portals open to all the quarters of the heaven, from which the winds go forth and blow over the earth. 3 of them are open on the face, the east of the heavens, and 3 in the west, and 3 on the right, the south of the heaven, and 3 on the left, the north. And the 3 first are those of the east, and 3 are of the north, and 3 after those on the left of the south, and 3 of the west. Hi, Ranger. You woke up. Through 4 of these come winds of blessing and prosperity, and from those 8 come hurtful winds. When they are sent, they bring destruction on all the earth, and on the water upon it, and all who dwell thereon, and on everything which is in the water and on the land. And the first wind from those portals, called the east wind, comes forth through the first portal which is in the east, inclining towards the south. From it come forth desolation, drought, heat, and destruction. And through the second portal in the middle comes what is fitting, and from it there come rain and fruitfulness and prosperity and dew. And through the third portal, which lies toward the north, come cold and drought. And after these come forth the south winds through 3 portals. Through the first portal of them inclining to the east comes forth a hot wind. And through the middle portal next to it, there come forth fragrant smells and dew and rain and prosperity and health. And through the third portal lying to the west come forth dew, rain, locusts, and desolation. And after these, the north winds from the 7th portal in the east come dew and rain, locusts and desolation. And from the middle portal come in a direct direction, health and rain and dew and prosperity. And through the third portal in the west come cloud and hoarfrost and snow and rain and dew and locusts. And after these four are the west winds. Through the first portal adjoining the north come forth dew and hoarfrost and cold and snow and frost. And from the middle portal come forth dew and rain and prosperity and blessing. And through the last portal, which adjoins the south, come forth drought, desolation, burning, and destruction. And the 12 portals of the 4 quarters of the heaven are therewith completed, and all their laws and all their plagues and all their benefactions have I shown to thee, my son Methuselah. Methuselah. Okay. Chapter 77. And the first quarter is called the east, because it is the first, and the second the south, because the Most High will descend there. Yea, there is quite a special sense, will he who is blessed forever descend. And the west quarter is named the diminished, because there are all the luminaries of the heaven wane and go down. And the fourth quarter, named the north, is divided into 3 parts. The first of them is for the dwelling of men, and the second contains the seas of water, and the abysses and forests and rivers and darkness and clouds, and the third part contains the garden of righteousness. I saw 7 high mountains, higher than all the mountains which are on the earth, and thence comes forth hoarfrost, and days, seasons, and years pass away. I saw 7 rivers on the earth, larger than all the rivers. One of them coming from the west pours its waters into the great sea. And those 2 come from the north to the sea and pour their waters into the Erythraean Sea in the east. And the remaining 4 come forth on the side of the north to their own sea, 2 of them to the Erythraean Sea and 2 into the great sea, and discharge themselves there, and some say, into the desert. 7 great islands I saw in the sea and in the mainland, 2 in the mainland and 5 in the great sea. I think I'm going to stop it there. And then we'll pick up on chapter 78 next time.